Welcome back. Your amplifier says 100 watts, maybe even 120 watts. So why does it still sound weak? Here's the truth most people don't realize in 2026. Wattage alone does not determine how powerful your system sounds. If your music feels thin, flat, or lacking impact, the problem probably isn't your amplifier at all. It could be your speaker sensitivity, room acoustics, source quality, or even simple placement mistakes. In this video, we're breaking down why your amplifier might sound underwhelming and what actually makes a real difference. Before you spend money upgrading, watch this first. You might save yourself hundreds. Let's get into it. Number 5, Foci Audio BT28 Pro. The Foci Audio BT28 Pro might look small, but in real-world listening tests, it often sounds far stronger than its modest specifications would lead you to believe. And that's exactly why it's such a great example for why your amplifier sounds weak. It's not the watts. On paper, this compact Class D amplifier doesn't boast huge wattage figures compared to larger integrated amps, but its modern amplification design allows it to deliver clean, controlled power that fills small to medium rooms with satisfying volume and detail. One of the biggest misconceptions in amplifier buying is that higher watt numbers automatically equal better sound. In reality, what matters far more is how efficiently an amplifier uses its available power with your specific speakers and listening environment. And the BT28 Pro illustrates this perfectly. With efficient bookshelf speakers, it achieves loud, engaging sound without straying long before you ever approach its upper rated output. In everyday listening, the BT28 Pro's performance stands out because of its tight bass, clear mid-range, and smooth highs, characteristics that many larger amplifiers struggle to maintain consistently unless they're heavily overbuilt. Vocals feel natural and present. Instruments have clean separation, and the overall tonal balance doesn't betray obvious distortion, even as you increase volume. This is especially important because many people assume weak sound means they need more watts, but often a real bottleneck is a mismatch between speaker sensitivity and how the amp is delivering its output, or issues like poor speaker placement and untreated room acoustics. When optimized with the right speakers and setup, the BT28 Pro's output can feel robust and dynamic, not weak and timid. Another advantage of this model, and one reason it's so widely reviewed on Amazon and YouTube, is its efficient Class D design, which runs cool and delivers consistent performance without heating up or clipping, even after hours of listening. Combined with its simple connectivity, including standard analog inputs and optional DAC integration, it makes integrating into a small stereo or desktop system very straightforward. Many listeners find that improving their source quality or speaker match with this amplifier leads to more noticeable improvements than simply chasing higher wattage figures. That demonstrates a key truth in 2026. Power isn't just a number on a spec sheet. It's how effectively the amplifier uses that power in the real world. So if you ever thought your system sounds weak even with a high watt amplifier, the Foci Audio BT28 Pro serves as a powerful reminder that smarter matching and efficient power delivery often matter more than bigger numbers. It proves that compact, well-designed amplifiers can outperform expectations and deliver satisfying, full-bodied sound without needing to overpay for unnecessary watts. Number 4, SMSL SA300. The SMSL SA300 is one of the best real-world examples of why wattage numbers don't tell the full story. On paper, it may not look like a powerhouse compared to large traditional amplifiers, but in actual listening situations, this compact Class D amp can sound surprisingly strong, clean, and controlled. Many users assume that if their system sounds weak, they simply need more watts. However, the SA300 proves that efficient power delivery, low distortion, and proper speaker matching matter far more than chasing inflated specifications. When paired with efficient bookshelf speakers, it can easily fill a small to medium room with detailed, dynamic sound long before reaching its maximum output. In real-world setups, the SA300 delivers tight bass, a clear mid-range, and crisp highs without harshness. Vocals sound focused and forward, instruments have good separation, and the soundstage feels open for such a compact device. If someone feels their system sounds thin or underpowered while using this amplifier, the cause is often elsewhere, such as low speaker sensitivity, poor speaker placement, weak streaming quality, or reflective room acoustics. Many times, Simply repositioning speakers or upgrading the audio source can create a more dramatic improvement than replacing the amplifier entirely. In 2026, smarter system optimization beats blind upgrading. The SMSLSA 300 demonstrates that if your amplifier sounds weak, the issue may not be the wattage. It could be speaker synergy, room treatment, or source quality. Instead of upgrading immediately, maximizing what this amplifier can already deliver may unlock performance you didn't realize was there. Number 3, Denon PMA 600NE. The Denon PMA 600NE is one of those amplifiers that reminds you that sound quality and actual performance aren't just about how many watts are on the spec sheet. On paper, its power rating might seem modest compared to some larger integrated amps, but when you actually sit down and listen to it paired with efficient bookshelf speakers or moderate floor standers, you quickly realize that this amp delivers clean, refined, and musical power that most casual listeners will never fully tap into. A lot of people assume weak sound means they need more watts, but in reality, the PMA 600NE often reaches satisfying volumes in real rooms long before its rated output becomes a limiting factor. It's built with a focus on transparent amplification and controlled dynamics, allowing it to handle subtle musical details just as comfortably as louder passages, which many high wattage amplifiers struggle with if they're not well matched to the rest of the system. In everyday listening scenarios, what usually holds sound back is not the amplifier's power itself, but how the entire system interacts. Speaker sensitivity, room acoustics, source quality, and placement. The Denon's warm, balanced sound signature helps vocals and instrumental timbre come through naturally without harsh brightness or thin mid-range, even at moderate volumes. Bass remains controlled and textured rather than overly boosted, which contributes to a more cohesive and engaging musical experience. That's exactly why listeners often find the PMA 600NE feels enough for most real-world use cases. It's not about blasting more watts, it's about effective and musical delivery of the watts you actually use. Another advantage of this amplifier, and one reason it's frequently reviewed on Amazon and YouTube, is its flexible connectivity. It includes both analog and digital inputs, letting you easily connect streaming devices, turntables with external phono preamps, or external DACs without needing tons of extra gear. This connectivity flexibility means many systems using the PMA 600NE sound richer, simply because they're receiving cleaner signal paths, which often makes a bigger difference to perceived sound quality than upgrading the amplifier alone. So when we talk about why your amplifier sounds weak, it's not always the watts. The Denon PMA 600NE illustrates that efficiency, system synergy, and real-world performance matter far more than chasing a bigger watt number. Instead of immediately upgrading the amp, optimizing your speakers, room, and source can unlock far more satisfying sound, sometimes without spending anything at all. Number 2, Yamaha S301. The Yamaha S301 is a classic example of how sound quality isn't defined by the biggest number on the spec sheet, and why so many listeners think their system sounds weak when the real issue isn't the amp at all. On paper, this amplifier doesn't advertise monster wattage. It's rated at around 60 watts per channel into 8 ohms, but in real-world listening it delivers clean, smooth, and well-controlled power that's more than enough for most bookshelves and small to medium listening spaces. The misconception that more watts equals louder or better sound ignores the fact that how those watts are delivered and how they interact with your speakers and room matters far more. The S301 strength lies in its balanced delivery, solid current capability, and Yamaha's signature neutral tuning, which makes music feel natural and detailed even at comfortable everyday levels. In everyday use, the Yamaha S301 reveals that many times an amplifier sounds weak not because it lacks power, but because the rest of the system isn't optimized. For example, bookshelf speakers with lower sensitivity require current and controlled output more than raw wattage, and that's exactly where the AS301 shines. Its mids come through with clarity, vocals feel well-defined, and the highs stay smooth without harshness, even when you're not blasting at full volume. If you pair it with speakers that have good sensitivity and place them properly in your room, you'll notice that the sound fills the space with confidence and balance. This kind of real-world performance highlights a key point. System synergy and matching matter more than chasing inflated wattage specs. Another important aspect is technique. Many listeners who think their amp is weak have actually never tackled room acoustics, speaker toe-in, or reflective surface treatment. These factors can dramatically affect perceived output and detail, far more than a hypothetical what difference ever would. The Yamaha S301 often sounds much stronger after even simple improvements like better speaker cables, isolation pads, or minor placement tweaks. And that's a powerful lesson for anyone tempted to upgrade without first optimizing. So when you think your amplifier sounds weak, remember, the Yamaha S301 shows us that loudness, clarity, and engagement don't come from big numbers alone. They come from proper system balance, efficient power delivery, and thoughtful matching of speakers, room, and source. In 2026, smart upgrades beat blind numbers chasing. And this amp is proof that sometimes all you need is better synergy, not more watts. Number 1, Sony STR DH190. The Sony STR DH190 is a very popular budget stereo receiver that many listeners reach for when building an entry-level hi-fi system. On paper, it looks capable, with a respectable power rating and a simple, approachable design, but in real-world listening scenarios, it sometimes gives the impression of sounding weak or less powerful than expected. That's not because this receiver is flawed, but because many listeners misunderstand how amplifier power interacts with speakers, rooms, and source material. The STR DH190's strength lies in its smooth, warm sound signature and user-friendly layout. When paired with moderately efficient bookshelf speakers in a small to medium room, it delivers natural mids and controlled highs that make vocals and acoustic instruments sound pleasant and engaging. But if you're expecting it to suddenly transform into a high-end powerhouse, that's where the myth of bigger what means better sound starts to break down. In everyday use, the Sony STR DH190 performs well at moderate listening levels, but many people assume they need a much bigger amp when they hear limitations, especially in bass depth or volume headroom. What they often don't realize is that speaker sensitivity and room acoustics play a far more significant role in perceived loudness and punch than the wattage figure printed on the box. A pair of efficient speakers in a well-treated room will often sound louder and more dynamic with this receiver than a less efficient pair with an amplifier that has more advertised power. That's because the interaction between the amp's current delivery and the speaker's electrical load has a huge impact on how the music feels. And watts alone don't tell that story. Another reason the STR DH190 can seem underwhelming at times is simply system setup. People often place speakers too close to walls and corners, or without accounting for room reflections, bass traps, or listener position, and that dramatically affects perceived output. Simple adjustments like speaker toe-in, room diffusion, or moving listening position can unlock clarity and presence that no additional amplifier upgrade could achieve. So if you find the STR DH190 sounding weak, it's worth exploring those areas first before deciding you need a new amp. More watts won't fix poor system synergy. Ultimately, the Sony STR DH190 demonstrates a core lesson in 2026 audio. It's not just about wattage, it's about how well your whole system works together. A weak sounding amplifier is often a symptom of imbalance rather than insufficient power. In many real-world setups, optimizing speakers, room acoustics, and source quality will produce more dramatic improvements than simply upgrading to a higher watt amplifier. And that's the smart upgrade path audio enthusiasts should consider first. So here's the bottom line. If your amplifier sounds weak, it's probably not about the watts. Real performance comes from proper speaker matching, room acoustics, clean source quality, and smart system setup. Before you rush into buying a new amp, optimize what you already have. You might be surprised how much better your system can sound without spending extra money. If this video helped you, make sure to hit the like button and subscribe to Buy-Side for more honest audio reviews, smart upgrade advice, and no-hype buying guides throughout 2026. Turn on notifications so you never miss our next deep dive.